Hi guys, I want to talk about a very interesting series of campaigns today. And what we're going to look at is the series of campaigns for a tabletop RPG called The City of Mist, a noir RPG of modern day legends. Imagine something like American Gods, but more noir. The first campaign took place already last year, and I was a backer of the first campaign. So the first campaign was to fund the core book of the game, City of Mist. Here you can see this is a mock-up of the cover. Actually, the real cover is much prettier than this. I don't want to spend too much time on the first campaign because the first campaign was successful. The game has beautiful art. It looks like a comic. Actually, it has comics inside, so. Clearly, that's the main source of inspiration. So the first campaign went pretty well, and people were happy with the book, and I think it was successful even at events, etc. One issue that there was with the campaign book, which again it doesn't have this cover, it has a different one, which is actually better. Was that it's really thick. It's something like 400 pages. So the main guy behind the project, Amit Moshe, this year decided that okay, I got a lot of requests. Maybe we should split the book in two, so we can have some kind of player book and GM book. And that makes complete sense. And actually, I think it's a good idea. From a product point of view, you can actually sell more that way because you can basically sell a player book per player, and not like usually players don't buy the whole core book if the GM is supposed to read it, but they might be interested in buying the player book. I think it's a pretty good idea and something that I will definitely consider for my own projects. The first campaign went well. They made $104,000, which is a lot of money for a tabletop RPG, especially from someone that basically didn't do very much before this. I actually didn't know the guy, didn't know the brand at all. I think even the company Son of Oak Game Studio is brand new, and it's basically taking care only of City of Mist. Actually, you can see the real cover here. This is much better than what the mock-ups they had during the campaign. So they decided to reboot this campaign, rebooted project, and one of the reasons why they did that is because during this campaign they unlocked some stretch goals that would really benefit from a print. Now, they're a bit hard to find here. What happened is that they rebooted the campaign, and the campaign, the idea of the campaign was that there were 4 things that were funded on the rebooted campaign. One was Knights of Paintown, which is an adventure book, like full of there's a long game campaign, and that was already funded in PDF in the first campaign. Then they wanted to print Shadows and Showdown, which also was funded as a PDF in the first campaign. So the fundraising here would have been for the book. And they wanted to split the core book into 2. Now, this is a bit hard to show because very cleverly Amit deleted all the content of the rebooted campaign when he realized that, okay, this is not going to work, I need to do something. And then he canceled this campaign and came back a couple of weeks later with another rebooted campaign that worked much better. What was his key mistake? We also had a discussion. I had a discussion with him, like many other backers that were telling him what is wrong with this campaign, and he was really interested in feedback. So I think he learned a lot about the way he was thinking about the campaign and how it didn't really reflect what people wanted. The main issue is that you could back for all the 4 books, but the 4 books like the only books that would be unlocked in the beginning of the campaign would be this Knights of Paintown, so the adventure campaign book. The other three were locked behind stretch goals, so you would find yourself spending, I can't remember exactly how were the tiers, but I think $68, $68 to get 4 books. This is actually only the PDF, which is actually a very high price. Let's see, for all the 4 books, $156 US dollars. So you would have to pledge that, but you weren't sure to get all 4 of the books. So Knights of Paintown, Shadow and Showdowns, and the split core book, because they were locked behind stretch goals. And people started to wonder, like, why am I paying? Like, what happens if the stretch goals don't unlock? And he was saying, well, you can get more copies of the of Knights of Paintown, for example, or of the book that have unlocked thus far. And that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense, because why would I want 4 copies of the same book if the others don't unlock? Like, I'm not a retailer. I don't want to gift this to 3 friends. You know, like, maybe some people can afford that, but I definitely cannot afford to gift the same tabletop RPG to 3 different people. So it started really well. People from the previous campaign came in. I gave him the benefit of doubt because I'm very happy with the product. But it was clear that it was not going to work, and it was very slow. So he actually listened to the feedback of the community and decided to reboot it again and do the proper campaign. And the proper campaign immediately exploded, and he made $1,082 basically offering exactly the same stuff of the first rebooted campaign, but unlocking everything from the beginning. And now you can see that the reason why he chose that structure is because he was afraid he wasn't able to cover all costs. Like, if you promise 4 books and people buy them, you need to be able to actually print them and make them. But crowdfunding, it's also, sometimes you have to risk it. Sometimes you have to risk it because just promising that all the 4 books will be made no matter what made this campaign explode. So it was a bet, but it wasn't a super risky bet, because there was definitely interest from the people. And look at the books, they are gorgeous. And this campaign went much better than the first one, almost double, in fact, for the same amount of backers. And I myself, I think I spent on this, well, here it says 159, but I think I spent much more than that, because you can also add some other stuff. Like, the only difference here is that instead of locking core rewards behind the stretch goal, he unlocked them from the beginning. Now, there could have been a situation where he was just reaching the goal, which is 20,000, which I can promise you is not enough to make 4 books, but not enough by far. There could have been a situation that if he handled this campaign badly, he would be forced to make 4 books, ship them around the world, and barely have the money to cover the expenses of maybe 2 of them, right? That is a risk that, as a crowdfunding creator, you need to take. If you know that your product is good, if you know that there is interest, you need to be able to say, okay, I'm willing to bet that even if I unlock everything from the beginning, this is gonna work. If it starts to look really, really bad, then you can try to pull the campaign, preferably before you reach the funding goal. But in this case, it paid off big time. And not only he will now manage to make all the 4 books, he will manage also to make some extra accessories that weren't there from the beginning. Well, there are some extra PDFs that have been unlocked, and there's going to be some custom dice, and then there's going to be a book set, slipcase, etc. So taking a bit of risk, he managed to almost double the great result of the first campaign. And this is the lesson that we can learn. If there is one takeaway, is do not lock core rewards behind stretch goals. It might make sense for the creator. It never makes sense for the backer. This is it for today. Thank you very much for following. And if you like this lesson, subscribe to the channel. Thanks.